Well, you can see that the ambulance is out there on the field, and they are intensely working on Damar Hamlin. There's just nothing to say right now. We'll take another break and come back.
Welcome back to Cincinnati, where medical personnel have been working on Bills safety Damar Hamlin for the last 9 minutes. Hamlin made a hit. He got up, took a couple of steps, and then just fell to the ground. We don't know, of course, the extent of his injuries, but the entire Bills team is out on the field right now. Several players are down on their knees. Other players are holding hands, praying. You can just see the worried looks on their faces. As soon as we have more, Joe, we'll pass it on up to you guys in the booth.
Okay, Lisa, we're going to take a break. They have been administering CPR through these past 2 breaks that we've taken. As Lisa said, Damar Hamlin has been down for over 9 minutes now. With everybody watching, praying, and hoping for the best. Well, the players now for both teams are so tight around Damar Hamlin, it's tough to get our cameras in there. Maybe that's for the best, but they have him on a backboard, I am told, and now on a stretcher. We'll send it away from here. Just nothing more to say at this point. We'll give you an update as soon as we can. We'll send it to Susie Colbert.
Okay, Joe, we're watching just this emotional scene play out in Cincinnati from here in our New York studios. Damar Hamlin, the Pitt grad, 24 years old, administered CPR down, obviously, for an extended period of time. And just to watch the emotion in the players' faces, the fear, I mean, really just terrifying that he was up, collapsed to the ground. And it's one of those things, the hit doesn't look bad, but Boog, I mean, often that's how it is. It's not necessarily about a big hit. It's about the type of hit.
Yeah, Susie, we play a violent game. And, man, you just hate to see it. That's all. I just pray for the young man, pray for his family right now. That's all I can say, all I know how to do right now.
Well, when a teammate is down and then the game is expected to resume, how as a player do you gather yourself?
I've never been in that situation. I don't even know if any of these players are thinking about that right now. I think by the look on their faces, they're all concerned about their teammate, because their teammate on the field is bigger than whatever's going to happen at some point tonight on the field. The well-being of their teammate is bigger than whatever the outcome of this game is going to be. So I don't think these players are worried. I wouldn't be worried about that. I don't think they're concerned about that. If they have to, I guess they'll figure it out. But the health and well-being of our brother on the field is the most important thing right now.
And you gather yourself and you focus. You figure out a way to focus.
Well, it's chilling to watch the whole thing. There's no other way to describe it. And you're not used to seeing something like this unfold, where an ambulance is on the field. I don't recall seeing an ambulance on the field. And to just see this, there's prayers all across the NFL community. Everybody's thinking of Damar Hamlin right now. And that's all we can do is hope and pray that he's okay, because it is chilling and scary to watch that entire situation unfold on the field. Everybody gathered around him and everybody praying that this young man is going to be okay.
It's tough, man. It's tough to watch, man. Yes, man, we come together to play this game and to compete. And like the only rule we have, like we want to walk off and go home to our families after the game, man. And to see this young man there, man, that's tough.
To your point, Boog, the teams are going to be given as much time as they need to gather themselves to be able to resume playing. And Damar Hamlin was given oxygen as he was being loaded in the ambulance. I mean, of course, throughout the evening, Lisa Salters there on the sideline will keep us posted on his condition. And that will be foremost in our thoughts. That's what everyone in the NFL community will be focused on and thinking about. And we'll take a break, and we'll be back from Cincinnati and New York after this.
Then them frantically administering CPR to this 24-year-old safety. And this is a Bills team. During the break, we watched Sean McDermott call his team over and say, we're going to say a prayer. We're going to say a prayer for Damar. They're going to try to continue to play this game. Sean Smith has gone over to each head coach. The two head coaches you can see got together, and they'll have 5 minutes to warm up. And Troy, I mean, you played this game for the majority of your life, and then after that, you've been calling these games. First of all, I've never seen anything like this. And then the question turns to, how do you, as a member of the Buffalo Bills or the Cincinnati Bengals, really continue on and want to play football at the intense level it takes to go out there and play this game?
Well, the game becomes secondary, there's no doubt, and everybody's thoughts now and throughout the rest of this ball game are going to be on the well-being of Damar Hamlin, and you can see it in all of the players' faces and the concern and how they are then able to come back and play a football game. Is no one's been through this. I've never seen anything like it either.
John Perry, as an official, you and I were talking during the break. I mean, this is uncharted water really for everyone.
Right, 20 years. I've never felt what I'm feeling right now. Haven't seen what we have been watching for the last 10, 15 minutes. And it just puts things in perspective real quick.
Zach Taylor's now walking across the field to Sean McDermott as these two head coaches are going to get together again. Let's send it down to Lisa.
Yeah, guys, just so much emotion down here on the Bills sideline right now. After Hamlin was taken away by ambulance, the Bills players just came to their sideline and they just looked devastated. Some players just sat staring out of the field. Other players were hugging each other. Other guys were openly weeping. At one point, Stephon Diggs tried to refocus everybody. He called everybody to gather around him. I could hear him trying to fire the team up, but after that was over, again, players back to the bench, just looking devastated, hugging each other, and openly crying.
Yeah, Lisa, as we said, they've been given 5 minutes to quote-unquote get ready to go back to playing. That's the word we get from the league and the word we get from down on the field, but nobody's moving. I mean, nobody's out there really warming up. Everybody's just stagnant. And it looks like Sean McDermott, after talking to Zach Taylor, is going to pull his team off the field.
The game has been temporarily suspended.
Joe just talked with New York in the command center. The situation has risen to a point where they want to give both teams, coaches, personnel, an opportunity to go back into a locker room, regroup themselves, and so the game has temporarily been suspended to give them the opportunity. Whatever they need at this point, the teams are driving it.
Which I think they should. You know, this now is up to these players, I think, and these two head coaches with what they get sense-wise from their team as to how much they want to go back out there and continue playing this game. I think it's the right call to give them a moment to go back in, away from our cameras, away from this big crowd in Cincinnati, have a chance to regroup, talk, crowd here has been great, by the way, throughout this. They don't know what's going on. And now these players are going back to their locker rooms, and I assume they'll have a real frank discussion as to whether they want to go back out there and play this game tonight.
Yeah, I would think so too. I don't know. Is that off the table, John? I don't know what the league is saying to you necessarily, but I can't imagine going in and being able to regain any type of composure to where you can come out and expect to play in a competitive football game.
I'm not sure anything's off the table. I think at this point, with what we are working through in the players and the teams, I think they're just trying to do what is in best interest of this athlete.
So we'll step aside. We'll keep you updated. Right now, we'll send it back to the studio and Susie Colbert.
Joe, it's a complete unknown, and it feels like almost an unprecedented situation, too. I mean, it's just so jarring to see the players' faces and how they feel. And all I could think about is you want them to be together in the locker room as a family, to be together, to talk about this and what they want as a group. And we really don't know if Bills players say, we can't move forward until we know how our teammate is. I'm not sure what the league can do.
Yeah, I mean, their teammate was just given CPR in front of them on the field. That'd be the only thing I'd be concerned about is he okay? What's going on? I don't want to hear about the game. I don't want to hear about a game plan. I don't want to hear about what the NFL is talking about. I want to hear about how my teammate is doing. Yeah. Is he okay? I need to hear that before I can talk about anything else tonight.
That's why they go to the locker room, and that's why they suspend this right now, because we haven't seen a situation like this before, where all that matters is how Damar Hamlin is doing right now. Until we know how he's doing, nothing else matters right now. So everybody can go to the locker room, and we could all await an update and hope and pray that this young man is okay. Because how can anything else but that matter right now? We've never seen that in an NFL game. We've never seen an ambulance come on the field, a player administered CPR, the game temporarily suspended. It's very hard for everybody. And so you heard John Parry talking about the fact that as he was saying that, as long as he's done this, I've covered the sport since 19. I don't ever recall an incident in game like this, ever. It's never happened, I don't believe. There have been times in training camp where someone's hurt, an ambulance comes on the field, and it never, ever gets less chilling or less jarring, ever. And when it's on a platform like this, a stage like this, and you see that happen, it's awful. It's awful.
Everyone's so shaken. I can't really remember seeing players openly cry as what we've seen tonight.
It's Susie, like we break bones, we have surgeries, we get concussions, and like as football players, we're conditioned to deal with those things. Like that's a part of our game. When you bring CPR out, you're trying to help someone breathe. We're talking life or death now. That's totally different than anything that I've ever been used to dealing with on the field. I've never seen it on the field. Like that's real. Like this is what we do is just a game. When you involve life and death, it's totally different. And those players feel that. Everybody in that stadium feels that. Both teams feel that. That's something. Again, the rule is when we go compete, we're going to compete, and then we're going to go home to our families. When we involve life and death, and that's tough.
We're all waiting and praying and
Everybody
thinking
is.
about Damar
Everybody is.
Hamlin, given oxygen, taken by ambulance, and nothing else really matters now until hopefully we get some news that's uplifting, and we continue to follow. We're here with you from New York and Cincinnati. we're all experiencing is it's really hard to describe as we pray for Bill's safety, Damar Hamlin. We cannot and we will not speculate. All we do know is that he needed CPR. He was given CPR on the field, and that in itself is terrifying.
It's something like we've never seen before. I've never seen it. I've never been a part of it, never heard about it. Again, you hate to keep repeating the same thing, but all you can do is pray for this young man right now. Anytime you bring CPR into effect, hopefully they've gotten word. I'm sure he has family out there. I don't know if they're at the game or not. Hopefully the Bills and the doctors are communicating with the family. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine what my family would want to know. They would want updates of what's going on, and just to make sure that in real time they're being updated. That's somebody's son, that's somebody's brother, somebody's father. Like they want to know what's going on with them.
It's chilling to watch it, and in the day and age that we live in, you can just see on social media every single team, every single player, every single person offering up their prayers for Damar Hamlin right now. The players are sent to their locker room, and the game doesn't matter. The game is so secondary to everything else. No one cares about the game right now. Everybody cares about this young man, his family, and finding out how he's doing, which is all that is on anybody's mind right now. And it's just one of those moments that is chilling. There's no other way to say it. It's chilling, it's heartbreaking, and everybody in the football world, the sports world, and I think the world at large, everybody's thinking about this young man and pulling for him right now.
The head coaches met and they talked, and they each took their respective teams into the locker room so they can be together as family, try to gather themselves, and I would imagine figure out what they want to do moving forward. I mean, it feels like an unprecedented situation. Decision that's made.
I don't think anybody can say what they want to do until we know how Damar Hamlin's doing. How can anybody make any rational decision until we have an update on his condition and how he's doing?
And the longer we don't know that, the longer his health and his well-being, and let's face it, his life is in question, the further away from football we're getting. And if we're going to get further away from football, then listen, we have people in charge in our league, in the National Football League, Players Union. They're talking, I'm sure, right now of how to make these decisions, what decisions need to be made. Let's hope they make the right decisions.
And let's candidly say, this is what we do as a living, to sit here and have to discuss this and talk about it is really tough. All we want, just like everyone in this world, is to know that Damar Hamlin is going to be okay. Mm-hmm. That's it. We'll be back.
A summary here tonight. This is at 8:59 Eastern when the ambulance was on the field to take Damar Hamlin away. He went down at 8:55:03. The athletic trainers immediately came out and were all around him. And when they first tried to get him into the ambulance, they had to place him back down on the ground, and that's when the CPR was being administered, and it was administered for many minutes here on the field. And then everybody kind of just stood. It was like people were just in shock, and with good reason, especially down on the field. And then when we got the update that within 5 minutes these players were going to start playing football again, we saw Zach Taylor live walk across the field to Sean McDermott. They talked for a moment. The two teams went into their locker rooms, and we are told that if there is any postponement of the game, that will come from New York, from Commissioner Goodell after speaking with these two teams. And like they've been saying back at the desk Troy, and I think it was said best by Boog back there when he said, we're talking about life and death here. We're getting further and further away from talking about football. And you know that these players, everybody down on that field, wants to know the status of Damar Hamlin, which right now we don't have a lot of clarity on before any decision is made to get back out there and play football.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think the players are going to want to or be willing to go out and take the field until they know that he's okay. You said it. They were administering CPR for many, many minutes, and the Buffalo Bills players were surrounding him, watching it all. I just, as a player and as someone who has teammates and the things that you go through throughout the course of a season, and in some instances, in most instances, these players, teammates they're closer to them than they are some of their own family members. And so there's a lot to it that maybe people just watching the game as fans don't necessarily understand. I just don't know how any of these players can come out and play football tonight.
Let's check in with Lisa.
Well, guys, I can only tell you what I'm able to see and hear back here by the Bills locker room. All of the game officials just came back here. Sean McDermott came out of the locker room, met with the game officials for about 2 minutes. McDermott just went back into the Bills locker room. The officials are still here, but obviously I have no idea what was discussed. I can just tell you what's been taking place back here.
Lisa, thank you. ESPN Bengals reporter Ben Baby says the ambulance left the stadium at 9:25 Eastern. Hamlin's family came down from the stands to be with him in the ambulance, per Bills reporter Elena Getzenberg. We will continue to monitor. We will continue to pray, hold our breath, as we are in a holding pattern with what just transpired on this field here in Cincinnati. We'll come back with any updates as soon as we get them.
The NFL community joined in prayer for second-year player, 24-year-old Damar Hamlin, taken to UC Medical Center from the stadium this evening. Went down after taking a hit, stood up, went down, administered oxygen on the field. The teams are in the locker room. Commissioner Roger Goodell in contact with the officials on site to make a determination. I cannot see a way forward that football's played tonight. You know, as players have reached out and tweeted across the league, the game is not important. The game is not important now. Life is important now.
Yeah, I think we reached a point a little while ago where nobody's concerned about football anymore tonight. Football is played as entertainment. I don't think anybody is in the mood nor the spirit to be entertained tonight. No. The only thing we're concerned about is that young man, his family, what's going on with him, making sure he's okay. That's it. We'll figure out the football game at some other point in time, but it's time for the NFL, the Players Association, whoever needs to make the call, whoever that is. We're done playing football tonight. We're done. Let's move on. We as a network, we'll figure out what to do. We'll put something up. Joe and Troy, that's the last thing they're concerned about is calling a football game. Nobody's concerned about football right now all the way around. America right now is concerned about one thing, the health and safety of this young man. And I think we need to go ahead and make that call. Stop speculating. Everybody's tweeting about it. Call the game. Let's NFL go ahead and call this game and let's move on.
It's hard to imagine that you could take the players out of the locker room without knowing about Damar Hamlin and how he's doing. Again, all that matters right now is how he's doing. His family, as Joe mentioned, is there. Mom is on the way to the hospital with him. And you just pray. You see the way everybody is thinking about him. And everything has come to a halt. And it is all about this young man and how he's doing. And everybody thinking and praying for him. every team, every player, every individual, everybody watching Monday Night Football, everybody who tuned in to see this highly anticipated game, nobody cares about that right now. They care about this young man. And everybody just prays that he's okay.
Thankful that his family is with him. There's really not much more we can say. I think we're all feeling the emotions. We're all joined in prayer together for Damar Hamlin. And we'll be back.
Well, there is simply no precedent for this, so we do not know what the next step will be. There are very few details on the status of Damar Hamlin at this moment. We are told that he was transported to UC Medical Center, which is the only level 1 trauma center in the area. As we've mentioned, his family, in particular his mother, was here in the crowd tonight. She rode with him, evidently. But beyond that, we do not have any more detail to pass along, including his status at the moment. It's been just over 50 minutes since he hit T. Higgins over the middle of this field, stood up immediately, and then went down. CPR administered by the medical personnel on the field. It was feverish. Players, some were watching, some were turned away. Most were in shock. We saw players crying. It is just stunning here in Cincinnati with what we've seen on this field here tonight. The crowd has been extremely patient. I'm sure with social media, this crowd is well aware of the gravity of the situation with Damar Hamlin. And we just don't know what the next step is. Whether we're playing football here tonight, which seems hard to fathom, if this game will be pushed to another night this week. But as has been said many times already, who cares? This is about Damar Hamlin, his health, and how he is at this moment and what his status is. So we continue to wait, and we continue to try to gather as much as we can for you, because I know that the concern for Damar Hamlin goes across this country right now and beyond, I'm sure, with what transpired on this field here tonight. So we'll take a break, come back, give up any updates we can as we continue from Cincinnati. Like before the break, there is not much new information. Lisa, can you give us anything more from down underneath the stadium?
Oh, yeah, Joe. Again, just what I can see. All of the game officials are out here outside of the Bills locker room. One of the officials went into the Bills locker room a few moments ago. He came out with Sean McDermott and gave him a cell phone. Sean McDermott was on talking to someone on the phone. Zach Taylor was also outside the Bills locker room. They handed the phone to Zach Taylor. Taylor also spoke to that person on the cell phone. The phone was then given to somebody else. The two head coaches exchanged a hug, and now Bills players are coming out of the locker room. They're not headed to the field, not sure where they are going. They are not allowing us to talk to the players. We're really not sure what is happening, but again, both head coaches hugged each other. Sean McDermott is still standing here outside the Bills locker room, and Bills players are starting to come out.
Lisa, thank you. You can see Sean Smith, our referee for tonight, who is there. But at this point, the officials, this is out of their hands. This belongs to the NFL and to the league office and to Commissioner Goodell. And to be honest, with these two head coaches and these two rosters who, no matter what is said by the league, I think it has to be passed by them, I would imagine, on a night like this with what we've seen here on this field. But all of that remains to be seen, and you can see Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott with a handshake. Here's the bio for Damar Hamlin, who's been the starter for the Bills since week 3 after the neck injury to Micah Hyde. Let's send it back down to Lisa Salters.
Well, Joe, remember I told you Bills players were starting to come out of the locker room. Further down the hall, they were met by Bengals players who came from their locker room, and players were just exchanging handshakes and hugs. Stephon Diggs came out of the Bills locker room in a towel, shaking hands and hugging Bengals players. So it appears from this vantage point as if this game is over.
You can see the Bills equipment staff is starting to gather their equipment over on the sideline. So we just have no official word, but if you start piecing this together, you have to believe that we have seen the last play of football here tonight on January 2nd. But again, no official word, so we'll just wait on that. But that is an unofficial word, with the equipment staff putting the equipment onto carts to take off the sideline, and watching players come out of the locker room without their shoulder pads on, and just leads you to believe that we have seen the last of football here tonight. So we will again step aside, come back to you with any updates and any official word. Until then, we go back to Susie.
Hey, Joe, and we understand that there's a lot to be discussed, but I think we all wonder why the decision on the status of the game has taken as long as it has. You think about the focus it takes to play football. It'd be unimaginable to resume the game.
Look, I think we saw down there, you saw both head coaches on a phone, and standing right by them was Donna Ponte, who attends most every Monday night game with the league office. And my guess is that the coaches were on the phone with the league office, speaking to somebody very high up. That's my guess. I'm going to make an assumption there.
Yep.
And so they're being debriefed, and they're describing what they know about Damar Hamlin right now, and they're making a smart, wise, educated decision not to play this game when all anybody cares about is Damar Hamlin. You're seeing it unfold right there with both head coaches, with players, with executives around them, with Donna Ponte from the league office, with them talking on a phone that I'm guessing was her phone in communication with the people on Park Avenue in New York, so they can make the common sense decision to not play this game and to find out how Damar Hamlin is doing.
And just knowing how the NFL operates, to Adam's point, just to add to it, not only are they canceling the game or postponing, however you look at it, they're probably trying to figure out what we're going to do next, to let the coaches know what to do, how we're going to do it, just because that's how the NFL thinks. I think the rest of America right now is not thinking about that. The rest of America is thinking about this young man.
Right.
But the NFL that's kind of how they run their business.
Again, let's bring it back to Damar Hamlin, because he is the focus of everything. And he is the only thing that matters tonight. It doesn't matter if they play this game, when they play this game. Damar Hamlin is the person that matters. And in the day and age that we're living in, all you need to do is to see that the entire country is thinking about and praying for this young man, because it is from every person, player, team account right now, prayers up for him all across the country. And everybody is just awaiting and praying for some kind of positive update on Damar Hamlin.
For this 24-year-old young man taken to UC Medical Center by ambulance, his mother riding along with him, and the crowd in stunned silence at Paycor Stadium, the teams gathered in their locker room, awaiting some sort of word, and the head coaches meeting and with the league and trying to make a decision as just how to go forward with this evening, for both teams.
And we've seen ambulances on the field before, I should say. This felt different
What's it?
than anything that we've seen in modern times. There have been other incidents in other NFL games involving other NFL players. This one had a particularly chilling, jarring, frightening feel to it, and all you had to do was look down to that field to get an idea of what was going on.
Yeah, well, almost instantly, the reaction from the players on the field was different. It was different than what we've seen.
We've never seen anything like that before. As a player, I played 9 years in the league. I broke plenty of bones, got banged up, been carted off. Like I've been there. During all those times, my teammates never had to worry about life and death. They never had to worry about that. When you're giving CPR to a young man, Susie, you're worried about life or death. Like he can't breathe. And I think that's where the tone, the facial expressions, the sensitivity from all the teammates from both teams, like I've never seen that before. I don't think any of these players have ever seen that before. That brings about a whole different emotion that none of us have ever been a part of.
Well, there have been other instances, but certainly not in modern times. It's happened before, but this feels so raw and so fresh and so chilling. And there are many people who haven't seen anything like this, but it's happened before, unfortunately, and I hope it will never happen again.
And just how precious life is. And we are thinking about Damar Hamlin as we send you back to Joe.
All right, Lisa, thank you. We are temporarily suspended, still in this first quarter, and still waiting for any definitive word from the league. John?
Joe, we just got it. The league is going to officially suspend play for this evening. And they will get with the teams and they will try to find a date or whatever their next move is. But for this evening, the game is officially suspended. The game will not be played this evening. And hopefully before we leave the air tonight, they will try to provide an update on the player.
Damar Hamlin, who now over an hour ago went back down to the turf after making the hit on T. Higgins. This is the scene at 8:59 Eastern. The look of shock, utter shock on the faces of the Bills players, being consoled by their opponents tonight. There's Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. The ambulance took Damar Hamlin away. We got word that he went to UC Medical Center, the only level 1 trauma center in the area. As we were talking and saying that the players were being told that they would have 5 minutes to get back ready for play, and the players were standing around, we saw Zach Taylor walk across the field and talk to Sean McDermott. And then moments later, the two teams headed into their locker rooms. Damar Hamlin, 24 years old, 6th-round pick from Pitt, injured at 8:55 Eastern time, so we are now over an hour since that transpired, and left the stadium by ambulance at 9:25 Eastern. And we have no update on his status, no official update on his status as we talk here, roughly 10 o'clock Eastern. John Perry just heard the official word that play has been suspended for the rest of the night. And so this game, with Cincinnati scoring on their first possession, the Bills going down the field, getting a field goal, this will be picked up at another time, a time that at this point is undetermined. As we talked about coming in, it seems silly to even talk about the specifics of where these teams are in their divisional races, their battle for the top seed in the AFC. That's what was on the line here tonight. But this was a jarring scene down on that field with players watching a teammate and a brother go through intense CPR down on that field and then carted away in an ambulance, making the specifics of where the Bengals and the Bills sit here in week 17 of the 2022-2023 season seem irrelevant. So fans are obviously getting the word. I have not heard an announcement on the public address system since we've been back from break. But I think obviously in the world today, news travels fast on phones, and I think people are well aware that we are finished watching football here tonight. Let's check in again with Lisa.
Hey, Joe, just again wanted to underscore just the emotion down here on the field, particularly on the Bills sideline. Something unlike anything I'd ever seen before. We heard Booger McFarland saying from the studio that we've seen players get hurt before. We've seen players look concerned about their teammates, but this was something completely different. Guys were absolutely devastated. You could see the pain and the anguish on their faces. You could see the concern and the worry. And just to underscore what we've been saying since this happened, we're all just praying for Damar Hamlin.
Lisa, thank you. We just got the official statement. I'll have that I can read to you here in just a moment. But all of this just depends, in my opinion, which isn't worth much at this point, on the health and the status of Damar Hamlin going forward with regard to when this game is resumed. Here's the statement. Tonight's Buffalo Bills-Cincinnati Bengals game has been postponed after Buffalo Bills' Damar Hamlin collapsed, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell announced. Hamlin received immediate medical attention on the field by team and independent medical staff and local paramedics. He was then transported to a local hospital where he is in critical condition. Our thoughts are with Damar and the Buffalo Bills. We will provide more information as it becomes available. The NFL has been in constant communication with the NFL Players Association, which is in agreement with postponing this game. Public address announcer just did make that announcement and that statement to the crowd, and these fans that have been packed in and loud since well before this game just filing out and doing so in an orderly fashion. This has been a very patient crowd here in Cincinnati. I'm sure with some not knowing the extent of what happened down on that field, but the big piece of that statement is that Damar Hamlin is in a local hospital where he is in critical condition. And that's the update that we have for you about 1 hour and 10 minutes since he collapsed on the field. We're going to keep it here for a couple of minutes, and then we will go back and in this case hand it over to Scott Van Pelt. What we have seen here is just it's really hard to put words to it.
No, you can't, and everybody obviously is trying, and the only concern, of course, is Damar Hamlin, and you said it. I think that what this looks like going forward as far as this game and when it might be played is anybody's guess.
John?
I'm just, as a parent, thinking about the mom. She comes to the stadium to watch her son play, and now he's in critical care. As you mentioned, Troy's mentioned. Man, there are no words.
For a 24-year-old that collapsed on the field after making a tackle, got up, and then immediately went back down. And he left this stadium by ambulance at 9:25 Eastern. And again, he is at UC Medical Center. And if we get anything before we go off the air, we will pass it on. But our time is running out here tonight on this Monday night. And as we go forward, we will just hope and pray that the news is better and better about Damar Hamlin. But at this point, all we can do is wait. This game has been postponed officially by the National Football League. And we will all be doing a lot of that. Medical personnel, they were there immediately. Looked like for a moment the players were all around him. You could see somebody down on the field, one of the players screaming for help to get out there. CPR started and then eventually into the ambulance into UC Medical Center. And now as all of us leave this stadium here in Cincinnati, Ohio, our thoughts and prayers will be with Damar Hamlin, a 24-year-old who collapsed before our eyes here tonight. So from our crew, we will step aside and send it to Scott.